Hey, this is Matt once again. What about to another video? The paid request. It's time for Michael. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, rankings, lists, comparisons, topics, whatever it may be, feel free to send it. Either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for 2019 after the fall of New York, which is a low-budget Italian post-apocalyptic movie, came around 83, being fairly much a rip-off of Escape from New York, with a little bit of, later on, as people say, Escape from New York meets Children of Men, because it's Escape from New York having to go into a place and rescue someone, but that someone is the fertile woman, the only fertile woman, because in this future, no one can bear a child. Just like when Clive Owen was sent in to get this, well, he finds out to be the only fertile woman. It stars this guy named Michael Sopkiw. He's a guy who, he did a couple of these Italian movies. He did one called Massacre in Desert Valley, which that might be uploaded maybe before this. He didn't do too many ones and then he kind of quit. It's hard to base acting when, you know, it's a lot of dubbing. I will say he moves fairly well physically. He punches, kicks. I mean, he's not a martial artist, but he moves, like I said, fairly well. Fairly agile. I'll give you that. Doesn't seem slow and clunky in his movements compared to others. So he was at least average in the lead. He had the right look for the role. And when it starts off, when they're trying to explain the setup to this, bear with me, the Euro-Afro-Asian Unity claims they won after all the wars and stuff, and no one can bear a child anywhere, and in New York, which is very, very low budget, like model work. But you know what, there's a charm, and you just see, like, despite the low budget, they tried. They did try. Because when you have the rubbles of pieces of a city, looks pretty good for a low budget. Doesn't look like a place that's been completely torn apart. Rubble here, rubble there, dilapidated buildings. There's a bit where they rip off Escape from New York with going over the bridge, but here's a tunnel, and they have all these pyramid lights on the ground that's supposed to be bombs. Like when State Police was trying to drive the car from the bomb Escape from New York. But yeah, they do a similar bit here at the end. And even like some of the model work of supposedly New York, and it goes at a good pace as well. I mean, the way Michael explained it was kind of like a Nintendo video game. And I could kind of see that, because it's not too long before another action scene happens. Now, it's not a glorious action scene. It's nothing that blew me away. But it was definitely at least not boring. Now, when it comes to Italian action films, I would say I would put others above this. I would put Raiders of Atlantis. Raiders of Atlantis. If you've never seen that, look that up, or look up the theme music to that. Or if you look up the trailer, it shows you the entire movie. So if you do look that up, yeah, be aware. The trailer to Raiders of Atlantis will show you the entire movie. But that I would put above. That was a lot of fun. I got some of the Blu-rays there. Straight Commando with Red Brown. Kind of their take on Rambo 2 and and stuff. That's pretty fun. Sometimes, you know, so bad it's fun, but that was entertaining. Straight Commando. What was that one? I even didn't mind Warriors of the Lost World with Robert Dente, Donald Pleasance, Persis Khambatta from Structure the Motion Picture. That had a motorcycle that would talk to Robert Dente, the exterminator himself, and If it hits someone, bingo, bingo, bingo. It's not great, but it's not like 2 point whatever on IMDb. I'll probably say I had more fun with that movie than this. But I mean, I would say I like this more than, what was it, the Bronx Warriors? I think that was the one I saw. I would say I had more fun with this than the Bronx Warriors. Like I said, the lead guy had the right look, nice movements. Pretty much, we see him in this part of this demolition derby, and during the middle of it, you think he's dead, but he's still alive, and he fights these other guys. Gets one guy and impales him, decent looking one. Wins his lady, and the way the dubbing is, the lady sounds like a guy. At least it did to me. And with a lot of these films, you get a bit of weirdness. Like when he wins, it's supposed to be this clown mannequin that's like moving like this, but it's a person, and you can clearly tell it's a person, and they can't quite get the movements as robotic as they wanted. And I'm like, wow, that shows what a budget is. They can't afford an actual mannequin, to do this, dress up like a clown. They literally had to get a person. You pretend to be one. I had this voice, I can't even do it. This high-pitched voice saying that he's a winner. One thing leads to another. He gets captured, and he is visited by Edmund Purdom, which is not his voice in the dub, because I've seen him in other stuff. He was in this terrible movie called Don't Open Till Christmas, and that was a film that was a slasher, and it wasn't finished. That's why the main theatrical doesn't really hold much water, so to speak. It's an unfinished film. He was also in Pieces, and if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it. He plays a pivotal part in Pieces. That's why I reckon, like, this isn't his voice, but I know that's him. Pretty much gets this guy to do this job. Now, no, there is no time limit. You gotta do the. At least I don't think there's a time limit. But there's going to be explosives. They don't go that far. They just say, you're going to be with these two guys. One who knows the place. This other guy who has an eye patch. He's very strong. And his name is Ratchet. You three don't go in. It's the last fertile woman in there. And there's a rocket ship that's going to leave to a better place. If you come back, you'll have a ride. So they go in, and that's where you get this series of set pieces. Like I said, nothing big or glorious, but for what it is, easy to sit back, relax, and enjoy the Italian quirkiness of it all. Whether it be they have this broken down bus yard and they're fighting these bad guys, or you have these homeless mutants and there's a Fu Manchu looking guy who's like a rat catcher type of guy and his homeless folks. Ratchet, the guy with the eye patch, he'll fight using these three like silver little balls. And he'll like use it as a whip to hit people or throw it at people. Some people use this crossbow, but it shoots out lasers. So it's a crossbow laser gun. And once in a while, it's a decent gore fest. I mean, it's not crazy gore, but like one guy gets a hit to the head and looks pretty ghastly and gory. Here and there's one point someone throws a sword and 4 heads get decapitated at the same time. Again, it's a series of little set pieces as these things happen. I don't want to give everything away. George Eastman, who is in this film called Anthropophagus, playing the title character, he's in this as Big Ape. Because yes, there are ape people. And some of those people look straight out of the original Planet of the Apes. So yes, there are ape people. I guess if this had Roddy Piper, there would have been fraud people too. That's another one I enjoy, Hell Comes to Fraud Town. This has more action than that movie, but I would say I still like Hell Comes to Fraud Town more, mainly for Roddy Piper. If this was a few years earlier, you had Roddy Piper starring in this, that would have been pretty damn cool. So I don't know, maybe if this was a few years later, or Roddy Piper could have done this, an acting a few years earlier. Yeah, if you had Roddy Piper, I mean, there were other people, like Robert Dente was in Warriors of the Lost World. Fred Williamson was in the Bronx Warriors, and honestly, I think he should have just been the lead in that. But anyway. There's also this little person who helps him find the fertile woman, who is this professor's daughter. I don't... How else do I go into this without... I guess I gotta spoil stuff, so beware spoilers. Sometimes there's stuff that makes you go, huh. Like, for example, I swear there's a point where they've come across George Eastman and his ape people. The ape man decides to help them. There's this fertile woman. The other characters, they gotta go do something important. The ape man knocks one of the other ladies out. And we're to assume either he fucked the fertile woman or he did something else. And then when that woman wakes up and the others come back, did everything happen? Is everything okay? She's like, nah, everything's okay. Even George Eastman's looking like, what the fuck, bitch, really? Even you say it's okay? I don't understand that. Maybe it was something I missed. There's another part where the little person comes across some bad guys, and I guess to give our hero some time, the little person decides to impale himself. Which, the way it was done, came off more laughable than it should have. You bastards, I will not... Yeah! He just kind of turns into here in this, like, car... this junkyard, and, like, impales himself. And it's like... You could have just... I don't know... Try to fight them, smack them, kick one in the nuts, run away, give chase. Was impaling yourself really the best, the brightest ideas? You could just at least try to fight, and then if they shoot you, you'd still be dead. Or if they wound you, and you could take the gun, like all sorts of other stuff, but that was his way to give them time, I guess. I thought that was a bit weird. You get to the third act where again they do the Escape from New York, driving. And that's the thing, there's not really a strong villain either. Like, you look at Escape from New York, you got Isaac Hayes, the Duke, you're A#1. You got someone like that. You don't have any villain really in this. There's kind of a villain, but then he gets killed by George Eastman, gets his stomach sliced, and there's like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes left of the movie. There's a head bad guy, but most of the time he's like in this cubicle trying to get new eyes. And this woman who's a bad guy and fell in love with our lead in like 2.5 seconds. And when the bad guy gets up, she just shoots him. Like, this whole time he's been getting these eyes, he gets up, and then that lady just... I don't know if she did that just to be the new villain, but then she doesn't become a villain. Like, we don't see her anymore. Was that to set up a sequel? But that wouldn't be, because this movie doesn't set up stuff as a sequel. It doesn't. Is it just, hey, I get to be the boss, or I did this because I fell in love with this guy, this lead, and I didn't. Couple seconds. I did. I guess she found her chance to be the head honcho and took it. Why she just didn't do it sooner? Like, why didn't you do it when he was in the middle of getting his eyes fixed? Why do it after he gets his eyes fixed? Why? What were you waiting for? Or after this thing where they're driving through and they have these triangle light bombs, and like I said, it's low budget, but it's charming. And compared to Asylum, was it Atlantic Rim and Atlantic Rim 2 and Transmorphers, all this stuff, you see, even if it's low budget, they try with using what they have and the rubble and these costumes, trying to be creative. Even this light bomb brigade of a tunnel, I still see effort with, we might have some sticks and stones, but we want to make something look kind of interesting and unique. And I think that where a lot of that charm comes from is because of that down and dirty type of filmmaking. And that's where, again, the super spoilers, George Eastman's in the back, throws a sword, he cuts like 4 people's heads off. And I guess they enter, there's like a laser trap, and George Eastman gets killed, he gets turned to a pile of bones. Okay. So it's just our lead, this lady, and Ratchet. And then all of a sudden we find out Ratchet is a cyborg, almost a vampire, but with this kind of movie I wouldn't be surprised if there was. And I think there's a bit of dialogue in the beginning about cyborgs and they're bad or something. But pretty much our lead goes, wait a minute. When that one weapon was hurting us, it didn't hurt you. You're a cyborg. And all of a sudden Ratchet's a bad guy. I'm like, well, Ratchet was helping the whole time. Ratchet saved your guys' lives many times. There's many times he could have quickly killed this person, killed that person. He didn't. There's many times he could have left you to die. He didn't. There's quite a few times he helped save our characters. It felt like just a lame, we gotta have some kind of twist. And I guess there's no such thing as a good cyborg. Like, you can't have a good cyborg? Okay. It just felt very out of the blue. And it's not much of a fight. It's like, we gotta have someone kill this girl. Well, he does it. And then our hero gets like a rock and goes and kills the cyborg. Which, again, felt like a very lackadaisical way of doing it. The girl dies in his arms. He gets there. Edmund Purdom is dying, and lo and behold, he doesn't screw over the lead. He's like, I'm dying, there's no point in me going up there. Maybe it's time for me to see the world out there. Those guys were never planning to give you a seat, but I'm giving you my seat. So him and the fertile woman wakes up, he smiles, rocket ship going up, and the movie. The music is there, no great themes like Raiders of Atlantis. Again, just check out the main theme, Raiders of Atlantis, you know what I'm talking about. There's no great themes like that. Hell, I would have been actually fine if someone tried to rip off John Carpenter's score. But, you know, it's decent score for what it is. It's decent amount of set pieces, not boring. I can understand the Nintendo notion that Michael mentioned. But yeah, I think when Raiders of Atlantis starts going, that did it much better. Or even Strike Commando, I would say, you know, other movies I think did it better. Like I said, there's a few questions that, like, why did, okay, this guy's a cyborg all of a sudden, and the stuff I mentioned. It's still interesting to see the charm they try to put into doing what they can with what little financing they have. I mean, nowhere near, of course, up to Escape from New York, but This is from people, what I've read up online, they think it's one of the better Italian ripoffs of that genre of either Road Warrior, Escape from New York, type of post-apocalyptic stuff. And yeah, I thought it was pretty decent. I thought it was, not too bad. I've seen much, much worse movies, to be fair. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.